In the vast, relentless churn of the eastern Pacific, Hurricane Gil continues its turbulent journey across open waters, an immense swirling force of nature that's drawn the close attention of forecasters across the hemisphere. Yet despite its formidable power, the latest updates from the Miami-based U.S. National Hurricane Center bring a cautious sigh of relief, as Gil, now clocking sustained winds of 75 miles per hour, or 120 kilometers per hour, and racing west-northwest at a brisk 31 miles per hour, or 31 kilometers per hour, remains far removed from any coastal landmass and is not projected to pose a threat to populated areas, currently positioned approximately 1,160 miles, or 1,865 kilometers, west-southwest of Mexico's Baja California Peninsula, putting it squarely in the open ocean, where its cyclonic fury churns in solitude, isolated from cities, towns, or infrastructure. And while the power and spectacle of such a storm can inspire awe, the forecast models are unified in their projection that this hurricane will not maintain its strength for long. In fact, meteorologists have made it clear that Gil has already reached its peak intensity and is now on a trajectory of rapid weakening, with conditions in the atmosphere and ocean beginning to work against the storm's core engine of heat and moisture. And according to the NHC, weakening is expected to begin Saturday and continue aggressively, with Gil likely to shed its tropical characteristics and become a post-tropical system as soon as Sunday, meaning it will lose the central convection and organized structure that defines a true hurricane and transition into a remnant low, signaling the end of its life cycle as a named storm. Yet the Pacific Basin is far from calm, and the storm season continues to generate significant activity, as evidenced by the presence of yet another named system, Tropical Depression Iona, which had previously reached hurricane status in recent days before being steadily downgraded. And while Iona now exhibits considerably less strength than during its peak, the system is still of meteorological interest, though, like Gil, it too remains far removed from land, lingering in a remote stretch of the ocean far to the west of Hawaii and posing no threat to residents, coastlines, or maritime operations, allowing authorities to maintain a watchful but relaxed stance. Still, while Gil and Iona are on their way out, forecasters are issuing cautionary notes as conditions remain conducive to further development in the eastern Pacific, with warm sea surface temperatures, favorable upper-level wind patterns, and seasonal atmospheric instability creating fertile ground for new systems to potentially form in the coming days. And while the current storms may have spared populated regions, the dynamic nature of the ocean-atmosphere system means that eyes must remain sharply focused on satellite data, oceanic readings, and high-resolution model projections, as hurricanes can develop and intensify quickly under the right conditions, a sobering reminder of the unpredictability that characterizes tropical cyclone behavior in this volatile region. Meanwhile, meteorological agencies continue to emphasize the importance of preparedness even when a storm seems distant, as shifts in trajectory, speed, or strength can alter a storm's impact potential dramatically over short time spans, and the sheer size of the Pacific Ocean allows for vast, sprawling systems like Gil to spin largely unseen by the general public until they're tracked through the relentless eyes of satellite technology. With forecasters parsing wind shear data, barometric pressure drops, sea surface heat content, and other key indicators that determine the lifespan, direction, and strength of each cyclone, and although Gil is weakening and Iona is a shadow of its former self, their existence reinforces that we remain in the peak months of hurricane season, a period when atmospheric conditions align for frequent formation. So residents along the Pacific Rim and islands like Hawaii must stay informed, tuned in, and ready for updates as new disturbances begin to emerge from the intertropical convergence zone or the remnants of African waves that manage to cross into the eastern Pacific and find new life in those warm waters. And while the current storms may not have made landfall or caused damage, each system plays a role in the larger climatological picture, helping to distribute oceanic heat, stir the atmosphere, and impact long-range weather patterns across North America, with some remnants even pushing moisture into the southwest United States during monsoon season, creating indirect effects like flash flooding, intense thunderstorms, or drought relief. And this complex interplay between storms that never touch land and their broader impacts is part of why tracking them is so critical, not just for immediate safety, but for understanding how seasonal storm activity influences agriculture, infrastructure planning, and disaster readiness at regional and national levels. And although Hurricane Gil's path has remained far from the headlines compared to destructive hurricanes that make catastrophic landfall, it remains a vital case study in how Pacific storms can form, peak, and dissipate with minimal impact due to favorable steering currents and environmental decay factors, while also underscoring the need for vigilance as each storm season progresses, especially with climate change amplifying unpredictability in storm formation patterns, intensity ceilings, and landfall risks, and with scientists continuing to study how warmer ocean temperatures and rising sea levels might change the behavior of future cyclones. Storms like Gil serve not only as meteorological events, but also as live test cases for improving forecast accuracy, modeling evolution, and international coordination on storm monitoring, particularly between agencies like the U.S. National Hurricane Center, Mexico's Meteorological Services, and the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, ensuring that data is shared swiftly and response plans remain up to date. So while the immediate threat to land from Hurricane Gil is effectively zero, and while Iona fades quietly into the Pacific void, the broader takeaway is that the ocean remains active, conditions remain ripe for new development, and no one can afford to become complacent. Whether you live along the Mexican coast, in the Hawaiian archipelago, or even inland regions that could see indirect impacts from moisture transport and post-tropical remnants, this is still a season in motion, and Gil is only one chapter in what could become a much longer and more turbulent story as the weeks unfold. And with every satellite loop and forecast discussion, the meteorological community watches, analyzes, and prepares for whatever comes next.